2024 Permanent Commission on the Status of Persons with Disabilities meeting. Before we begin our business, as always, a few housekeeping items. I'm Denise Garlick. I am the elected chair of the commission. This meeting is being conducted virtually on Zoom and in person at the Mass State House, Hearing Room A2. It is being live streamed on the masslegislature.gov website, and a video archive of the meeting will be available on this webpage and on the commission's website shortly after adjournment. We have card services captions enabled and have shared a card services link with attendees and viewers in advance of the meeting. And our card writer is Lachey Flowers. Thank you very much for being with us, Lachey. And then we'll post the card link in the chat. We also have American Sign Language interpreters for today's meeting spotlighted. Our ASL interpreters are Lucy Annette and Letitia Nadine Bino. We will, and when we are speaking, please know that I may need to ask you to slow down just a little bit if our interpreters need to get more clarity on what we're saying or as they switch between their duties. We will now begin with a roll call and approval of the September minutes. Amen, if you would call the roll.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Great. Good morning, everyone. Roll call. Jassy Burks Abbott.
Present.
Charlie Carr. Representative.
Amen. I am aware that Charlie will join us, but he will be delayed.
Thank you. Representative Gerard Cassidy. Chair Denise Garlick.
Present.
Nancy Garcosi. Craig Hall.
Present.
Representative Kay Khan. Andrew Lavalde.
Present.
Ann Lynch.
Present.
Regina Marshall. She told me that she will not be able to make it today. Felix Martinez. Oz Mandahar.
Present.
Brett Muratori. Oh, I see him joining us right now. Bridget Murphy is here in person.
Present.
Senator Patrick O'Connor. Angela Ortiz.
Present.
Kathy Bitkowskis.
Present.
Carl Richardson.
Present.
Lexi Semanchik.
Present.
Rachel Stanton. I see you. Megan Todd.
Present.
And Chris White.
Present.
Thank you.
And Eman, I'm also aware that Representative Khan will be joining us, so if you'll keep an eye open for her as well.
Okay.
Okay, Eman, we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Okay. For the individuals that have reviewed the minutes, are there any edits that you would like to offer?
Your Garlic, this is Craig Hall. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Thank you very much. May I have a second?
Kathy Pitkowskis will second.
Thank you. All those in favor of accepting the minutes?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes are accepted. So I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to reorder the agenda in two ways. First, I'm going to take several moments to recognize an individual who has contributed so meaningfully to the commission. And I think sometimes when we wait to express our appreciation and gratitude to the end of meetings, we lose it, and I don't want to lose this. The second is the number 3 around the discussion of identifying next pillar of focus. I'm going to flip that with the subcommittee reports. It is very important that Charlie Carr is able to be with us to identify the next pillar of focus, and he just needs some additional time before he can join. So I'm hoping that that's agreeable to all. Any concern? No. Okay. All right, so this is the moment that Eman and I would like to take. You may know that Colin Fedor has been my chief of staff, and actually for many years now. He has been integral to the development of the commission. I want to recognize his work and what his contribution has been. Many of the commissioners are aware, but perhaps not all, that the Commission on the Status of Individuals with Disabilities is an independent state agency. That is in the statute language. I cannot tell you what that meant to us as we were beginning to understand the impact of that, and were contacted by the Comptroller's Office and began the process of setting ourselves up as an independent state agency. Colin Fido was with us every step of that way. He actually led the process. It is a bureaucratic maze, I have to tell you, and it was completely new territory for me as a legislator. It was brand new territory for men as a brand new hire to the commission. It is incredibly complicated. We dealt with multiple agencies, multiple concerns around the responsibility that then meant for the commission and the accountability that was entailed. I will tell you that Colin Fido, my admiration for him as someone engaged in public service is limitless. The diligence in which he approached all of these details, which was a new learning experience for him, the integrity he brought to all the relationships. We were dealing with multiple state agencies who were helping us in the process and also holding us very responsible in that process as well. The incredible integrity in those relationships, while deeply committing to the mission of the Commission on the Status of Individuals with Disabilities. Not in his job description, never discussed with him if he wanted to come on board. He came on board. It was part of the work that I was doing, and it became part of the work that he was doing. I know that Amen wants a few moments to talk about Colin. Colin mentored Amen with a great sense of the responsibility that she was assuming, with a great deal of energy to support her in this important work. And he also marshaled my legislative staff at times when we needed them all, and saw that the work of the commission was equal to the work that my office was doing, related to legislation, related to my constituent services, related to the work I was doing as the chair of the Education Committee. And all of that staff came on board, my legislative staff, so willingly, because he believed in the mission and they believed in the mission, not only of public service, but what we were trying to accomplish with the commission. Colin, I would like to take this moment to express my personal appreciation and gratitude for your work and for the integrity you bring as a human being to all the work that you engaged in public service. And I'd like to give Amen a moment to speak as well.
Thank you, Chair. This is the moment when we have a standing ovation over Zoom. I joined Chair Garlick in really thanking you, Colin, for taking me under your wing when I started and knew nothing about what was about to embark in this journey, and you were very gracious with your time, with your energy, and teaching me the ways. You're my right wing in a lot of ways, and so I, on behalf of the commissioners here and personally myself, I really want to thank you for adding me to your crazy workload and answering my calls and my texts and really helping me shape the commission to where it's at now. I know Sophia is not here, and Hannah and everybody else who was part of the staff, but you all were really incredible. Thanks to you and to your leadership, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Garlick. Thank you, Matt, for the kind and unexpected words. I appreciate it. It's been such a pleasure working with both of you and getting to meet everyone on the commission and work together on such important issues, and I appreciate every moment. I think that it's in such a good place because of all of your work, and I'm excited to continue to follow it into the future. You're all in very good hands.
Excellent. Good.
Thank you, Colin.
Is there anyone else who would like to comment? Not expected, but I wouldn't want to move on if somebody wanted to say something.
This is Oz, and I just want to comment as the secretary of the commission that I had no idea what my role was going to be. And Colin not only helped me, but he created the agenda and graciously had me provide feedback, which made no difference at all. He just took it over. So Colin, thank you very much for all you've done. You really have done a terrific job, and we appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And as we move into the new year, I hope perhaps you'll carry this with you, that in what seems to be uncertain times, very unsettled times, we should always begin with appreciation and gratitude for the work of each other and what public service truly means. So at this time now, I am very pleased, as we're speaking about public service and what it means, to welcome Acting Commissioner Sarah Peterson and the Director of Community Life Engagement, Holly McCarthy, from the Department of Development Services. Commissioner Peterson brings a wealth of knowledge and experience in advancing employment initiatives and programs for individuals with developmental disabilities, as well as supporting the professionals who serve them. We're grateful to have her join us to share her updates and to include some of the innovative approaches, the pillar of employment for individuals with disabilities who wish to be engaged in employment, as well as our focus on those individuals serving people with disabilities in a variety of ways that they need. That has been a major part of this commission as we first began. I will share with you that Commissioner Peterson came to our annual event. We're very grateful for that, and spoke because it has been a mission to make sure that this new commissioner is well integrated into what we have always called the galaxy of people involved with disabilities. And I am deeply moved that at times we find that commissioners or secretaries have vast knowledge about a subject area, but may not understand the details of the agency itself and how it works, and that becomes part of their learning as they take on a new role. Our commissioner knows all the details. General Counsel for DDS knows all the details, has been dotting the I's and crossing the T's, and now can bring her broader focus. I think we are blessed to have this commissioner, and I would like to turn this time over to her and to Director McCarthy.
Thank you so much, Representative Garlick. I'm so happy to be here today and to share some information on some of the initiatives that the department is working on. Imen, are you going to be able to share the slides? Thank you so much. I should have known you would be ahead of me. So first, I just wanted to do some introductions. Representative Garlick gave a very kind introduction, but as she said, I'm Sarah Peterson. I'm the acting commissioner. I stepped into that role upon former Commissioner Jane Ryder's retirement at the end of August. I've really enjoyed these past 3 months of my role of acting commissioner, and have gotten out to visit a number of our area offices, a number of our community programs, facilities, group homes, and attend a number of events. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of those things in a moment. I also am really pleased to introduce you all to Holly McCarthy. Holly is the Director of Community Life and Engagement for the department. Holly has also just recently taken over the rollout of a new assessment tool, overseeing that and working with our team on that, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. And Holly is incredibly knowledgeable on the issue of employment, and so it was really important to me that I include her here today so that you all could see her, recognize her face and her name, have her contact information, and be able to hear from her directly if you have questions about any of the initiatives that we cover.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Sarah.
Absolutely. So I was going to just start off, Representative Garlick mentioned that I was at the October event in recognition of the National Disability Employment Awareness Month. And I know that many of you were there. So you've already heard from me that in April, DDS closed the front door to approving applications for waivers of the minimum wage for employees eligible or participating in DDS employment supports. So as of October 1st, there's no longer anyone in Massachusetts in group and individual supported employment who earn a sub-minimum wage. But what's new since we saw one another in October is that last week, the US Department of Labor announced a proposed rule that would phase out the issuance of certificates allowing employers to pay some workers with disabilities less than the federal minimum wage. And that's currently $7.25 per hour. So I'm so glad that Massachusetts was ahead of the curve and eliminated the payment of subminimum wages prior to this long overdue federal initiative, and I hope that that rule passes. In 2010, the department adopted an employment first policy, which established that integrated individual employment should be the preferred service option and outcome for working age adults served by DDS. Lots of work has happened since that time. We have eliminated sheltered workshops. We've shifted the focus of community-based day services to supporting employment outcomes, and also what I just mentioned in terms of eliminating a subminimum wage. But there's more work that needs to be done. And before we get into our priorities, I wanted to tell you first about the new assessment tool that the department is rolling out and that Holly is overseeing the team that's working on that. So the assessment of personal support needs is really a critical building block for guiding the delivery of services for people who are supported by the department. We have decided that it's necessary to move from our current individual needs assessment tool, which has been the ICAP, to a more current person-centered assessment tool. The tool that we've selected is the Supports Intensity Scale Adult version, or the SIS-A, and it is a tool that's used in many states around the country. This SIS-A tool identifies the support needs of individuals from a strength-based approach. It's a standardized assessment. It measures the supports of a person with an intellectual disability or autism. It measures their needs to take part in community life. It's also, available for translation in other languages, and uses a web-based platform to collect and export data, which is really important to moving things forward. We could also customize supplemental questions to meet Massachusetts specific needs. The role of the department, as I see it, is really to enhance the skills of the individuals who we support. And this new tool will come at the planning process, not from the question of, do you want to work? But it will come at it from the perspective of, what services and supports would you need in order to meet your employment goals? So that skill-based approach to the assessment, I think, is really a shift in focus that can be really meaningful in terms of framing and outcomes. Last month, Secretary Walsh and I had the opportunity to visit with some employees at UMass Amherst who are supported through DDS programming with a provider agency, Riverside. And there's a link in the slides. I'm not going to have Imen click on it because it's a YouTube link and I don't want ads to come into the meeting, but I wanted to share it so that if you have an interest in learning more about that initiative, you can click on that. It's just a couple of minutes. And where I had just been at that program recently, I wanted to share it with you because I really found it incredibly impactful on me to be there and to meet with the folks who work there. So Riverside has a CBDS program, which is a community-based day support program. And they also have both group and individual supported employment in partnership with the UMass campus. There's a little over 30 individuals who are working on the UMass campus and are supported in their employment through the DDS UMass Riverside partnership. Two of the individuals who I met have graduated from the supported employment model and have continued their work at the university. The partnership really both enhances the work opportunities and community ties of the individuals, but it also has a strong and important impact on the student body. This UMass partnership is really just one of many examples of such programs. So Holly and I were talking about some of the other examples yesterday, but where I had just seen this one firsthand, I wanted to share it with you. So through the CBDS program, and we'll be talking a little bit about this when we get to the slides, the program is able to replicate a work-like environment. And so prior to entering the workforce, the individuals are able to get accustomed to what it would be like to work in a busy dining hall, using the equipment, getting used to the noises of clanging dishes and interacting with customers and students. And that really allows them to both build the skills in advance of entering the workforce and also to see if it's something that they want to do. And so it was just a really impactful experience for me, and I hope that you have the opportunity to review that video. Slide, please. So I'm not going to read the mission of the department, but I did just want to share it and also state that full and meaningful participation in communities really means that we have to commit to helping people with disabilities obtain competitive integrated employment. As of July, DDS was supporting over 2,500 people in group-supported employment and over 3,800 people in individual-supported employment throughout the state. Slide, please. So I'm going to talk about the CBDS program, the Community-Based Day Supports programs. Those are really the pathway to employment for working-age people. These programs provide purposeful and hands-on experiences for discovery, exploration of interests, and development of skills and work behaviors. And that's done through volunteer work, community service projects, internships, and other work-based learning opportunities. Everyone has a different path when it comes to employment. And the CBDS programmatic structure is meant to support and enhance the individuals along that path, whether it's relatively straightforward in terms of the path or it's one that takes many, many years to develop with varying challenges and shifts along the way. Holly, I don't know if you have anything that you'd like to add in terms of CBDS.
Yes, thank you. So I'm new to the department, so I've been here for about a year and a half, and I spent a lot of time last year trying to connect with providers and CBDS programs to really get a sense of the successes and challenges of things that our community is doing. And this was a great, again, I think like learning opportunity for me because the providers are really working to, provide meaningful community engagement to lead to those pathways to employment. And I think, our kind of belief and messaging that, employment and meaningful community engagement don't have to be mutually exclusive. They're really tied hand in hand to connect to the outcomes that we want. So it was just great for me to go around and kind of see that kind of happening every day.
Thanks, Holly. Slide, please. Our success in doing this work at DDS is really rooted in collaboration. So the combined efforts of, I think we might have skipped a slide. Are we ahead one?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, down one. Yeah.
Thank you. So we're going to talk a little bit about promoting networks and collaboration. The combined efforts of employers, educators, government agencies, and our provider community can create a pathway to employment opportunities for the people we serve. The regional employment collaboratives are an important part of this work, which includes engaging with chambers of commerce, small business associations, et cetera, within the collaboratives regions. So we work together to support the development and expansion of on-the-job skills training programs in partnership with businesses. That provides the individuals with valuable work experience, and it also creates a pipeline of workers for businesses in specific sectors that have a high demand for employees. So we have some positive examples of those partnerships with CVS, TJ Maxx, Sodexo, and they really are able, kind of like the situation that I mentioned at UMass, of replicating work environments such as stores so that people can get experience and get adjusted to the workplace environments before entering the workforce.
Yeah, and I can say too, I had an opportunity to go up to the Northeast Regional Employment Collaborative's kind of celebration of what they accomplished last year. And CVS was there and represented, and it was just amazing to see, again, I think that foundation and relationship that they have built and the amount of kind of interns that they've passed through the programs that have led to really positive employment outcomes has been remarkable. And we're really looking to try to strengthen that and expand on those networks with small businesses and larger businesses.
Jesse, I see your hand raised.
Yes, I was interested when you said that they have an opportunity to, like, for instance, work in a store or work in a cafe. I actually saw the video of the Riverside and the Amherst, and I was wondering, are they paid while they're working, or is it like a mock setup, or are they really working with customers? I'm curious how that works.
So prior to going to the actual campus at the CBDS program, they have like a mock environment that they set up within the community-based day program so that people can get experience with support in an environment where, you know, they're supported and there's not any like real-time kind of issues, consequences, or expectations, where they're just able to kind of develop those skills and get accustomed to the environment. Then once they move to the university and they're working in the, a lot of them work in the dining hall. There are some other, you know, opportunities as well, but they're getting paid for that work once they're in the work setting.
So how long does the mock training last?
It totally depends on the individual. It's really tailored to the needs of the individual and how long it takes them to feel comfortable moving on to the next setting and when they have the skills that would be required of them. So it could be as long as a person needs. And sometimes somebody might start down one employment path thinking that they would like to pursue a particular job and then try it in the day program setting and decide, maybe this isn't the right one for me, and then they can try something else.
Thanks.
Slide, please. So DDS has been utilizing relationships with our state and local partners, such as DESE, Massability, and local school systems to increase and streamline access to employment for individuals who are transitioning from school. We have a memorandum of agreement with Massability, through which both of our agencies are developing trainings and identifying liaisons in our area offices to support case collaboration and efficient communication. Moving from school to adult services is really a great opportunity, sometimes for the initial exploration of what employment outcomes might look like for an individual.
Yeah, and over the past year, I also had a chance to work closely with Massability and see some of the collaboration that's already happening in certain pockets of the state. And I think we have a really great opportunity, you know, through this more formalized collaboration to kind of spread the kind of consistency and best practices of case collaboration and identifying positive employment outcomes like across the state. So I'm really excited to continue to work to get this training out this year and train the field. I know the field is really excited for it as well. So there's a lot of energy in this area. So there's really great things to come here.
This is Charlie Carr. I can't use the raise my hand function, but I had a question about the relationship with Massabilities. So you mentioned in the previous slide CVS. Is this part of the MRC Pharmacy Tech program at CVS, or is this a different endeavor?
This is a different endeavor.
Could you explain just a little bit what the CVS function is? Because CVS has been very good for the last 10 years, at least to my memory, in terms of working with people with disabilities.
Yes. So, but it's a mock training center that is set up just like a CVS, and you know, individuals go through the program and learn different skills, whether it be, you know, stocking shelves. If they're interested in customer service, they would, you know, do some cashier work, and they walk through the entire training process and then go into some work in the stores. And it's just been remarkable. The Northeast region, as I mentioned, has a really strong relationship with the CVS partnership up there, and it's great. I can include some follow-up information to send over to be sent out to the commission, because there's a lot of really cool things like this happening across the state that we'd be happy to share with you guys.
Yeah, and just a quick follow-up. You mentioned the Regional Employment Collaboratives. Does Department of Labor have any representation on the Regional Employment Collaboratives these days?
That's a great question. I'm going to have to look into that and get back to you on that. That's a really great question.
Okay, thank you.
So in terms of training and technology, we've really had a significant focus on technology. Pretty much just prior to the pandemic, we started really thinking about it in earnest, and then obviously the pandemic kind of catapulted us into really needing to think about it. And you know, we really need to think about enhancing systems of supports in a way that utilizes supportive technology. And that's really central to the efforts around employment as well. Enhancing access to supportive technology is both for individuals and also for staff who are providing support. Technology can really be used to empower individuals and allow them to build skills and achieve greater independence in the workplace. We also have a workforce shortage in a number of areas, and the use of technology is going to be crucial to building a sustainable path forward for disability supports with that lack of human resources and kind of what we've been experiencing over these past few years. So just one example of how technology can be used. There are opportunities for individuals with disabilities to engage in working alongside a human service worker in terms of completing surveys to check with individuals on you know, how they're receiving their supports and how they're experiencing things. And if an individual requires supportive technology in the way of an iPad or a communication device in order to fully participate in that, they can do so. There are a number of ways that technology can support people in terms of employment, and we have some really wonderful technology centers across the state that think very creatively about what supports might be able to help somebody to be more fully integrated into their community, including work, and to create specific technology or devices that might be able to support people in order to do that.
Yeah, and I know also too, I believe, I think I'll put you on the spot, Chris, but RTR is doing some really cool stuff as it relates to virtual reality and kind of job training and job preparation too. And I know some of my colleagues from the operations team at Central, I think, had a chance to use some of that themselves this week. They said it was really awesome.
Yeah, we're really excited. We're doing some research on it now with the University of Florida, but we think it's going to be a game changer for especially folks on the autism spectrum.
Yeah, that's great.
That's great.
Thanks.
So in closing, I guess we'll just say that we're really excited for this opportunity to tell you about our commitment to work. We look forward to further engaging with the Commission. Holly's contact information is here in the slide, and please don't hesitate to reach out to either of us if you have any questions about the work of the department more generally or about employment specifically. There's also a link in the slide to the Blueprint for Success 2.0, Moving Forward Together, which gives a lot of details about the department's plans for moving forward with employment initiatives and just other issues and initiatives of the department. So we have time for some questions, and just thank you very much for inviting us to be here today.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you. We will now open it up for a conversation, but I'm sure, Commissioner, you are aware of the amount of work that the Commission itself has done, and we look forward to this partnership with you. Is there anyone who would like to engage in this conversation now? So I don't see any raised hands. Am I missing anything?
I don't see any raised hands either.
Okay, so what I would like to say is two things, Commissioner. One is that the Commission has worked incredibly hard all year long through the power of our subcommittees. And the heart of our annual report is the summary of those subcommittees, and we are sharing that annual report with you and look forward to ways that you think we might strengthen that partnership as well. But I'm going to switch hats for a moment from being the chair of this commission to being the parent of an individual in a CBDS program, and would like to share with you that all of the policy and all of the initiatives come down to the fact that we need a stronger workforce for individuals supporting people with disabilities who want to be engaged in employment and transportation.
Yes.
And I know that you know that, but I just wanted to be on the record that in order to make any of these great initiatives work, we need a stronger workforce and we need more ways to get our folks there.
Absolutely. We have been working on those issues and trying to figure out ways to not only recruit, but more importantly, in my mind, retain quality workforce. And so one initiative that we rolled out over the course of the past year was a DSW to LPN program. And that was an opportunity for individuals who had been employed by the department as direct support professionals to attend an LPN program at a college and be paid for the time that they were obtaining that LPN certificate. They were required to continue working one shift a week at the residence that they were working at, and upon completion were hired into LPN roles within the DDS state-operated system. And so that program, last year we had 18 people graduate from it. We already have 22 people enrolled for this upcoming year. And it really has been something that I think has energized the workforce. It shows that we have a commitment to investing in the people who are working for us and in helping them, develop as professionals. But the other part of that, and kind of the flip side of it, when I attended a conference with direct support professionals earlier this fall, is looking for more meaningful opportunities for people who aren't looking to step out of the role of a direct support professional, but really want to stay in that role, and making that a viable career option where they can make a living wage, feel adequately trained and supported, and are able to stay in those roles and grow in them. And so those are all things that we're looking at very seriously, because it's incredibly important, valuable work, and we need to treat it as such.
This is Charlie Carr. I'd like to just comment very quickly. I think the collaboration with Mass Abilities is really important. And if you haven't already done so, I think sitting down with Commissioner Wolf and going over a memorandum of understanding would be very helpful, because when I was at Mass Rehab, it was during the Great Recession, and we had to make some difficult decisions about programs that we were going to cut. And one of the programs that we cut was the sheltered work program. And it made sense because sheltered work is, as you probably agree, is not appropriate. It's just not a good program. And one of the things that was very helpful at the time, Commissioner Howe, we developed a transition from sheltered work into appropriate day programs, but we also found that a lot of DDS consumers had benefited from MRC's job programs and were able to get into competitive employment. So I think it's a great idea if you could collaborate more closely with Commissioner Wolf and see how many DDS clients can actually benefit from MRC services to get into competitive integrated employment.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Wolf is an incredible partner, and I've had several conversations with her since entering this role, and that's one that I'll absolutely take back to her. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Angela, 1 second. If I may, Mike Sanders, the Director of Workforce Talent Development for Mass Ability, is here with us today and left his contact information. So Charlie, we can follow up with him with those questions.
Great.
Angela?
Hi, thank you so much. And I appreciate Commissioner Carr's last comment about agency collaboration across the agencies. But I did want to also just talk about transportation and how you fund organizations like through grants and, you know, the important work of community-based organizations who are doing, whether it's workforce development or career readiness. A lot of the times the transportation is not built into the funding. And so if MRC and Massabilities now does not fund that, it might be something where DDS kind of is a part of that, you know, can augment and supplement that funding. But transportation is an underlier. It's a part of every single area. We know direct workforce, the direct service providers are mainly single moms, women of color, our immigrant communities who, you know, they need to get access to where they're going. So we really, I think, how you are funding community-based organizations and others doing the work is really critical. So I just wanted to kind of exclamation point that.
Thank you very much. Yeah, your point is very well taken. This incredible programming can't happen if people can't get there. And in addition to some of the, you know, points that you raised in terms of, you know, demographics, family situations, et cetera, there's also pockets of the state which feel this much more than other areas. And so thank you for raising that and bringing that to our attention.
I don't see any other comments, but Kathy Patauskas, I'm going to give you time to do a commercial for our video. The commission spent considerable time and considerable resources in the development of the video, and I'm not sure the commissioner was able to see that, but certainly the commission would like to share that. So Kath, if you could just briefly talk about that as well.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So I think, Commissioner Peterson, that we might have sat next to each other at the event at the State House in October, where we did launch the video, and we would certainly encourage you and your team, as well as your provider network, to leverage this resource to inform and educate employers across the state to get, you know, more involved with our collective mission here. This will probably end up being my subcommittee report, or at least in part, but you know, this video was created to educate and inform and inspire employers, in particular, you know, or especially messaging to small and medium-sized employers that they can do this too. It's not just the large employers that can successfully employ people with disabilities, that it is, you know, something that is doable and beneficial. And as you know, I don't know, Holly, if you were at that event or if you got to see it, but it is on the commission's website. But it does spotlight 3 different companies in 3 different geographic areas in our state, representing 3 different industries and employing people with disabilities at all levels of employment. So again, this is a resource available to, you know, educate and hopefully engage employers to get involved with hiring people with disabilities. And it's really, you know, was developed for our state, not for our commission.
Great. Thank you. I haven't had a chance to watch it, but I definitely will, and we'll share it out. And I encourage everybody, if you have more resources like this or places that you think I should come and see, like I said, like the commissioner said, my contact information's in there, and I love getting out there and making these connections.
Julie noted your email address, Holly,
Awesome.
but I would also, maybe, Eman, we can put the link in the chat to so we also created a resource page on the commission's website where the video resides, but also where there are a lot of other resources that are geared toward employers that they can leverage to help them on their, journey of being good employers for people with disabilities. So encourage you to check out those resources as well as everybody else here and, and listening or joining us remotely, because this is a website. It's live, it's dynamic, and we are interested to keep building it out with additional resources as well.
Thank you, Kathy. The link has been posted in the chat, and Sarah and Holly, we are your hosts, but we have a call to action for you. If you could please share this link and the video with your network and your newsletters, especially for those with small and mid-sized businesses, as well as your large corporations that you work with. I think this is really important, and as Kathy mentioned, this is the work that the Commission did, but we really want the Commonwealth to use that as a resource guide. So thank you.
Absolutely. We will share it widely and look forward to receiving other resources in the future. I think that Representative Garlick, you and I have talked about the fact that, these collaborations and making sure that everybody who is doing this important work is connected to one another, is sharing resources, is not duplicating efforts, is just, I think, so vital to making sure that we move things forward really in the best way, the most efficient way. And so, I just thank you again for inviting me to come in October, to inviting us to be here again today, because it really just means so much in terms of getting to know the people who are around this virtual room and being able to share those resources, connections, relationships, etc.
So thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Director. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your partnership. And thank you as we move into the future for the work we'll do together.
Thank you.
At the beginning of this meeting, we had reordered the agenda. So at this time, and very appropriately, we'll move to the subcommittee reports. But if I can ask the subcommittee chairs, if we could, I'm going to just ask for the subcommittee report on disability employment and on the workforce supports. And then as we move into the discussion of the new pillar, we will then include both Commissioner Carr and Commissioner Richardson have been the chairs of the Legislative and Budget Subcommittee, and they're part of the transition to the new subcommittee. May I ask two commissioners that are going to report if we could keep this to 10 minutes so that we really have significant time for our discussion going forward? Okay, at this time, Kathy, may I ask you to report?
Yes, and I highly doubt Chair Garlick if I'll need the 10 minutes, so.
I've heard that before.
First, I would like to just, recognize and thank our subcommittee members, Chris White, Jazzy Burks-Abbott, Matt Muratori, Rachel Stanton, Osmond Dahar, and Carl Richardson. Since the last time this full commission met, we had one subcommittee meeting last month in November. However, that's not a reflection on the work that has been completed over the last several months, including the video that I just talked about. So that was completed and launched, as everyone knows, at the State House on October 23rd at the Commission's signature event, and has been also disseminated to the Commission's mailing list and on social media. To echo what Iman said, we are asking all of the Commission members here today and those joining us from the public to also share the video with your networks, either via email or your social media, or to follow us on social and to share, like, comment, and spread the word. And we also talked about the resource page on the Commission's website, and special thanks to Iman and Rachel for really working diligently on making that come to fruition. So thank you for that. And then just to round out my comments, our next meeting of this Disability Employment Subcommittee is January 27th. And at that time, we're planning to transition. I'm planning to continue on the commission, if the commission will have me, and on the Disability Employment Subcommittee. However, we are planning to transition the leadership role on our subcommittee to, it just seemed like good timing for me, and to give others on the subcommittee, others on the subcommittee to take on a leadership role. And I think it's really great timing because we'll be discussing our future projects as well. So just to get some new ideas, new thoughts, new leadership. So we're excited about that as well. So that's my report.
So thank you. And actually, you were brilliant in your timing. And in the spirit of appreciation and gratitude, I want to thank you for your leadership of the subcommittee as well, Kathy. You have been extraordinary. The work has been extensive and impactful, which I think is our goal. And I am sure the next year will enjoy your friendship and support.
Thank you, Chair Garlick. It was truly my pleasure. It was a great experience for me, and I appreciate the opportunity.
And now I'd like to turn to Angela, who will be presenting on the Workforce Support Subcommittee. This is the heart of the direct service personnel. Yes.
Oh, you're on mute, Angela.
Thank you so much, Chair. Just a reminder, this subcommittee collects data and analyzes initiatives that address the workforce crisis for people who provide services to people with disabilities. So I was not able to be at the last meeting, but it was very meaningful, and I thank Amen for collecting the minutes, and also my fellow subcommittee members, Andrew Lavault, Commissioner Chris White, as well as Representative Kate Kahn. We did invite guest speakers, Deputy Director of the Center for Innovation and Partnership at the Administration for Community Living. Her name is Caroline Ryan, as well as the Director for Direct Care Workforce Strategy Center at the National Council on Aging, Stephanie Gibbs. So the key takeaways, just very high level, was they really shared what they're doing according to their direct care workforce at their direct care workforce strategy center, which they established through a 5-year grant to improve recruitment, retention, training, and professional development. Part of this also is to provide technical assistance, facilitate peer-to-peer learning, and be a resource hub to the states. We are currently not a part of their technical assistance program, but it's looking like in the spring of 2025, in the new year, there may be an opportunity for us to be a part of the technical assistance program. So we are gonna put that on as our next steps. 20 states are already a part of the technical assistance program, including Maine and Vermont. So we want to make sure Massachusetts is getting, these incredible resources that can help us, further enhance and strengthen what we're doing for workforce support. They also talked about what's called the Forward Initiative, which really has to do with their home and community-based services. They're looking at key data gaps, policy priorities, and then they're looking at national surveys and seeing how we can have standardization across the board from a direct care worker standpoint. But I want to turn it to my fellow commissioners on this subcommittee to see if I missed anything, to add anything else.
If I may, this is Iman. I just wanted to also highlight that we are looking to create some cadence with the EOHHS with Patricia Wu in getting some updates from the state on the workforce supports and how the state is prioritizing that, and the any and all updates on the plans for meeting some of the solutions that ACL has shared with us, especially for the migrant population and the pipeline to become part of the workforce. So just wanted to highlight that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Amanda. And I know the goal is to have quarterly updates, or to try to have that with Dr. Yu of EOHHS. And I think as well, too, of seeing this now, the Center for Health and Information and Analysis, CHIA, to also have that kind of ongoing cadence, to have them just provide reporting on just their workforce survey results and just recommendations moving forward. But thank you for that.
Any further comments? And Angela, I just want to give you an opportunity to share your new position with people as we talk about connecting the planets in our galaxy.
Oh, sure. So I am 3 months into my new role as the executive director at the Massachusetts Health Council, which has been around since 1920, and it was really established in a time of crises by 9 organizations, preeminent health organizations, that banded together and said, we need a way of looking at public health issues systemically, you know, across the state more effectively. So it's been a part of key health initiatives since, you know, we're going on 105 years. So I'm really honored to be a part of the legacy and revitalizing it moving forward. And I'm sitting at a lot of really important tables. The Mass Health Council is a membership organization that really works with all the key stakeholders in the healthcare landscape. From our healthcare plans, we have providers, payers, advocates. So it's an incredible opportunity for us to make sure our residents with disabilities, our children to our adults, are very much their needs and their ability to live quality of life and thrive in the community is just as represented at every table that I go to. So I am bringing that lens, and I'll be sharing, you know, a lot of different opportunities moving forward. But health equity is an important aspect, workforce development, and very much at the high level systems level. So we do a lot of advocacy across the board, but super excited to be involved with the commission and continue to just amplify the really important work that we're doing in subcommittees and what our charge is as a commission.
Angela, this is Charlie. So are you working with all disability populations?
We do not have an exclusive, we are working with all members of the Commonwealth. And we do, I will say, we have a health equity lens, and we are focusing in specifically on the most vulnerable members of the Commonwealth, including our folks with disabilities, our Black and Brown communities, and our low-income immigrant communities. So we know that when they are thriving and doing well, the rest of the Commonwealth is doing well. So we really are centering the most vulnerable populations.
Well, thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, Charlie. Appreciate it.
All right. So at this time, we're going to move forward with our agenda. And Commissioner, you are welcome to stay, but we're going to talk about a new pillar of focus for the commission. And yes, thank you. And thank you for your time, Commissioner.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Director. Okay, so we had reordered the agenda so that we would have time for the next part. I want, just in the term of housekeeping, to let you know that I believe in your agenda notes you've received the proposed dates for the next meeting in the upcoming 2025 year, right? Everyone received those dates, Amen?
Yep. They were included in the agenda. I just want to note that Carl and Charlie have not reported on their last meeting.
I'm going to include them in this discussion
Okay, that's
here.
what I thought, okay.
Right, okay. So I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not missing anything in the agenda. By my clock, it's 11 o'clock exactly. Let's leave ourselves 25 minutes for the next part of the agenda, but always that last 5 minutes, and if we can get more than 5 minutes, for any of the commissioner announcements, anything the commissioners want to be sure that they share. I think that is important time that we always add to the agenda. So this is the time, as we are at the last meeting of this calendar year, our annual report has been submitted, and we're looking forward to the upcoming year, that we have an opportunity to talk about the next pillar of focus. Because we are a permanent and funded commission, at the very beginning, we talked about our ability to have time. Many commissions don't have time. They are time limited, they don't have resources, and they cannot build a strong foundation, but they take on an issue and try to make recommendations. We have both the time and the resources to do our work. Our first pillar was around employment, and it was around employment for individuals with disabilities who wish to be employed, and for those individuals who are serving people with disabilities who wanted to be employed, and for the supports they need for their life, right? I believe that we have built that pillar very strong. That pillar will always be part of the commission, and it will always be part of our work. But we now have an opportunity to add a second pillar. Okay, and when we talk about adding a second pillar, I want you to know that there are ways that we are thinking about what that could look like. We'll be looking at adding new subcommittees, dissolving some committees that we might have, or consolidating them. I'm going to put in broad terms what we think that work could look like, and then I want to open it up for discussion of what we choose to be that focus. So we certainly are going to think about the consolidation or realignment of some of the committees. Always for those subcommittees, just like this meeting, which is open to the public, which has people who are present at the State House, engaged people from the public, they're engaged virtually. We always want to invite representatives from relevant state agencies. We want to develop and continue to develop our relationship with stakeholders. We are actively engaging disability advocates, service providers, and individuals with lived experience with diverse perspectives. This has been the strength of the subcommittees. The depth and the breadth of the work of the subcommittees, I think, has been incredibly impressive, informative, and helpful in our work. And in these subcommittees, we have assigned roles within subcommittees with clear tasks, established timelines, and there is staff support for the subcommittee work. So as we talk about a new pillar, as we talk about consolidating subcommittees, know that there are resources and there is staff support as you begin to consider how you want to approach that as commissioners. I think this very meeting is an example of how dedicated the commissioners have been. This is an extraordinary group of people to be working with. The second part of, as we look at our work on the subcommittees, is the way we review the environmental scan findings. The way that the subcommittees have been able to analyze the existing data, identifying gaps, prioritizing areas for deeper investigation. We have hosted listening sessions and focus groups to validate the findings and gather additional input. We've compared models from other states, and I think we will continue to do that, and mapped current programs and services to highlight strengths and gaps. So as we think of our next pillar, those are ways in which we would want to approach the issues. And we have developed recommendations and pilot initiatives. We have had actionable recommendations tailored to the selected pillar. Presently, we can use the model around employment that we have used as we identify the next pillar. We will again want actionable recommendations. We have shared drafts with our stakeholders, shared drafts widely around the work that we were doing to get refinement and feedback. And we've identified opportunities for small-scale pilots. And all of the work of the subcommittees has been integrated into the annual report. And as I said before, the subcommittee members, the subcommittee chairs, you are at the very heart of the annual report. This is the work that we're able to do. The breadth of the work cannot be accomplished in quarterly meetings. It is accomplished in those monthly subcommittee meetings. And we have highlighted our results. We've outlined the potential for scaling successful initiatives. And we, of course, disseminate the report live. So when we think of that is the scope of what we want to accomplish, right? We, very early, when we were deciding what our first pillar would be, and we talked about employment in both ways that we discuss employment. We had also talked about the important issue of housing, the important issue of transportation, and the important issue of health equity. And Charlie, I have had discussions with Commissioner Carr and reordered the agenda, Commissioner, so that you would be present with us when we talk about the issue around health equity and personal and community care. So I wanted to put those three issues before the commissioners. As we choose one, we will choose one. I know how vitally important they all are. But to build that second pillar and to build it as solidly as we've built our first pillar, to carry that pillar of employment and now add a second pillar, I'd like to open up this discussion around those three issues and ask the commissioners if we can move ourselves forward and make a decision on our next pillar and then set out our work for 2025. I know that there had been discussion around housing, transportation, health equity. I was wondering if, and we're adding to that title, and I think that title can even be more refined in this meeting, but adding health equity and personal and community care.
So Chair Garlick, Buzz Mondahar, and I thank you for that, setting the table for this. I really want to speak to health equity, and we've already embarked on some of this. We have great allies within the Health Equity Compact. They've presented to our commission, and we've presented to them. They're collaborators, and they're working very closely with the governor's office and the Healy Driscoll administration in their efforts to advance health equity in Massachusetts. So I just think, coming from the healthcare industry and seeing what's happening and the changes there, I feel very passionate about this. I think we don't have equitable access, and I know Charlie and many others here, including what Angela has said earlier, it's a critical factor. Employment has always been my goal, and that's what I embark on, but I would say we do have a challenge in getting access to health care. And I do see some of the services being diminished, or at least not offered as they were before. So I just encourage us to think about health equity because there is really good work happening. I think they could very much support our efforts, and the collaboration, I think, could be very rich. And I think, Angela, once again, I'm just thrilled that you're there because that's really going to be very helpful. That's just my comment on health equity.
Thank you. Jassy, I see you had raised.
Yes, when you put this question to us in the email, I've been thinking about it, and what I keep coming back to is the pressing need to address the workforce crisis. And I keep thinking of our commission's proximity to the legislator. I keep thinking of the state budget. I keep thinking of the threat to the PCA cuts. And I keep thinking of like how to put that into a pillar that, for instance, has a certain degree of immediacy. And I came up with community living. Because I think of how pervasive the workforce crisis is. It affects employment. It even affects health equity. So maybe community living can be a pillar that actually, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking.
This is Charlie. I think you're right on the money. Chair Garlick, I don't know if you want to speak more about it, but what we talked about was looking at phasing out, if you will, the legislative and budget committee because it is too narrow, and we have some restrictions in terms of our ability to take positions, and so I think we're looking at two sort of basic pillars or tracks, and one of them is certainly health equity, but the other is long-term services and supports, Jazzy, which would get to, I believe, what you're speaking about, which is community life. And so we're trying to think about combining those two activities together into a new and revised subcommittee that Carl and I would co-chair. But we want to capture health equity, and Oz spoke very strongly about the importance of health equity, and Chair Garlick also feels very strongly about health equity. And so I think if we combine health equity along with long-term services and supports, which covers the universe of services that people need to live in the community independently, I think we have a pretty strong opportunity to revise and strengthen that previous subcommittee. So those are just things that we talked about, and those are my thoughts. And I don't know, Carl, if you want to add anything to that.
No, just that I agree with the direction we're going in. When this Budget and Legislative Subcommittee was originally formed, the commission was brand new, and we haven't yet had defined the focus, nor did we necessarily understand everything, as it was a newly formed independent agency. And as we've grown and developed, we've learned that we're special employees, which means that we can't necessarily endorse budget or legislation, which narrowly define what we could do with the subcommittee. So we wanted to pick a particular topic that we can work on. And we did discuss at our last meeting in November housing, transportation, and healthcare equity. And basically, and I, as a blind person, kind of lean toward transportation, because if I don't have transportation, I can't do anything. But once we discussed as a committee, we started to understand that if you don't have good health, you can't get a job, you can't take transportation, you can't live your life, you're just fighting to stay healthy. So, and if you don't have access to good health care, all the other aspects, so the committee as a whole leaned towards making healthcare equity a priority moving forward.
Thank you, Carl. Andy, last few hand raised, but I also wanted to call out Ann Lynch, who has joined us for that November meeting. If you have any feedback or comments you'd like to make.
Thank you.
I couldn't hear you that well. Your voice went down.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me? Can you hear
Agree.
me?
You're muted, Amen. So we can only hear the mic on, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I was just saying we had Ann Lynch join us at the November meeting if she wanted to provide any feedback or comment in the conversation that we had.
I couldn't hear you either. This is Ann. So I didn't know you were throwing it to me. Well, I'll say three things. One, I think as a representative of the Attorney General's office, we see how important all of the topics that were discussed in that committee meeting are, personally and as a representative. Like, obviously, they're all essential and important to address. Two, we leave a certain amount of the decision making we want to leave to others and be responsive to their feedback. So I'm hearing like a great interest in health equity and community supports, and so that want to be responsive to that. And three, I would say, as we talked about what our office would vote for in a vacuum, we actually were also leaning towards health equity. It's a priority of the disability rights team that I am on, and which isn't to say that the others aren't incredibly important, but it's a priority of ours. So that kind of further reinforces our thought that would be what we would lean towards.
Thank you, Anne. I appreciate your feedback. I think you contributed greatly to that conversation, and I hope that you will be able to join that subcommittee once we meet again next month.
I second that.
See? We all want you there. Angela?
Sure. No, this has been a really great conversation already. Obviously, health equity is critical to the work that I'm doing now. In the way that the council looks at it is social determinants of health, right? So all the meetings that I've been in, and we have to look at this in terms of what we're going to be faced with at the federal level and how that's going to trickle down into the states, right? So with the Trump administration, I think we do need to look at what is most at risk as well as part of these conversations. In healthcare, we're going to be facing a pretty big hurdle and fight, and there's a lot of fear and uncertainty. So I think, you know, honing in and focusing in on health equity will be super important to address these challenges. But what I've appreciated in a lot of different forums that I've been a part of in the past 3 months is looking at, you know, health is wealth, right? And we want this shared prosperity. And in order to have a healthy economy, well, looking at it like we need to have a healthy economy, we need to have healthy people who have access to all of these, you know, opportunities. So when we look at social determinants of health, it touches all of those areas. It looks at community living. It looks at access to healthcare. It's economic stability. It's access to education. So, you know, I encourage us when we think of health equity, it doesn't mean we're letting go of, you know, housing or transportation. It just means that we have this umbrella term that if maybe we do want to embed a little bit of the social determinants of health principles in that, which gives us more flexibility in the lens in which we look through to bring in different partners, and it gives us a broad scope. So that's just some feedback, but I'm very excited and eager if this is the direction we're going, because I think it is going to be absolutely critical for us to serve as a convener and working with so many partners who are already doing this work and could need that amplification and unity.
Thank you, Angela. Chris?
Yeah, similarly, I would like to echo, I like the idea of health equity being the focus, but within the perspective of community living and social determinants of health, providing the perspective behind it. At least once a month, I find myself arguing with healthcare professionals, trying to, you know, finding myself having to justify the value of a member's life, someone served by Road to Responsibility, because the doctors are saying, you know what, they're disabled, you know, what's their quality of life anyways? And it's just abhorrent to me, and it's gotten worse over the last few years, and now, especially with the one care system transitioning to a new model over the next few months, I think it's going to be even more important that we keep a close eye on these issues.
Thank you, Chris. Rep. Khan? Representative Khan?
Are you calling my name? I couldn't tell.
Yes, sorry. You have
Okay.
your hand raised.
Trouble hearing you, Eman.
Okay. My apologies. So I just would like to say that I am finishing 30 years in the Massachusetts legislature. I will be, the end for me is on 12/31/24. And I have to say that it's been an incredible opportunity of a lifetime. And it's been a special privilege to be on this commission. I would just like to say that as a healthcare professional, so much of my agenda in the legislature has been around healthcare. You can't always get there, and what I would say, sort of to add to what Chris was saying, it's really about education. And that's what I have found as a member of the legislature. You can file pieces of legislation, but you have to do so much more to get people on board, and it really is about educating what the needs are. It could be something very simple, or it could be something really complicated. And I love what Angela has also spoken about and what she is going to be doing going forward. It's incredibly important. So I would just really like to also support the idea of health equity. It crosses so many things that we have been talking about, are dealing with, even the whole issue around employment. So much of that is related to healthcare and health needs as well. Education. I mean, we could list all of the different areas. So I just think, and I want to just give credit to Denise Garlick, who I think was really interested in moving the second pillar in that direction. So I would like to add my support for that particular pillar, a possibility, and know with what we're going to be facing, as you all, I think, are thinking, we're all probably thinking the same thing, the whole issue around Medicare and Medicaid, and just what's going to happen in the health industry with the next administration. So I would definitely like to support the whole idea of health equity being our next pillar. Thank you.
All right, I don't see any other.
Any further comment? I'm going to take a moment of personal privilege. Rep. Khan, you said the end for you is 12/31/24, but the new beginnings are January 1, 2025. Lots of work still to do.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome. And Charlie, I want to thank you. I want to thank Carl Richardson. I want to thank you for the work. And Carl was very right. The idea around the Legislative and Budget Subcommittee, folks may remember, was something that Paul Spooner had thought about, but the commission needed to grow into our role and better understand our responsibilities as special employees in the commission. I want to thank both of you for the thought that you've put into that and the grace that you have afforded this commission as we move forward. And Charlie, I want to give you time to address this issue of health. And I did speak to you before this meeting, and I know that I did ask you to help us to think, if the commission decides to move in this direction, what an appropriate title for that subcommittee would be.
Charlie, you had one the other day.
He's on mute. Let me unmute him.
So while Charlie is working on getting unmuted, because we certainly want to have his input, I do think it's important, whether we're talking about individual and community care or whether we specifically talk about long-term services and supports, which probably should be part of the title, right? Health equity, and with a focus on our health equity and long-term services and supports, I think is vitally important. I think several commissioners have talked about our concern about the incoming federal administration that is going to have an impact on health services and supports, particularly on long-term services and supports in our relationship with the state. So I think we would be wise to make sure that that's part of our title as well.
I just want to communicate the title that Charlie had offered, since I don't,
yes,
he may have stepped away. It is Long-Term Services and Health Equity Subcommittee.
Good. And I would add long-term services and supports. I'd like to add the word "and supports" and health equity committee.
Okay, so
This is Charlie.
Oh, good, there you are.
Yeah, somebody keeps muting me and I can't physically unmute myself, so please stop muting.
I haven't met the people yet that can mute you, Charlie.
So I would agree with you, Chair Garlic. I think that health equity is critically important, and social determinants of health, as was just presented, are additions to health plans and healthcare providers, and it's fairly new. It does encompass other areas like housing, transportation, employment, etc., but it's not one of their major focuses. Their major focus really is healthcare, and we're looking at disparities in healthcare. For example, people, brown-skinned people, people with disabilities, people that are often marginalized and not given equal opportunity and access to healthcare. So I think the distinction that I would like to make is, yes, health equity is critical and we all support it, but social determinants of health really doesn't cover the broad spectrum of other areas such that health plans and other health organizations can provide through social determinants of health. So I would put forward and support what you said, that we should combine both health equity and long-term services and supports together in this subcommittee, because I think that social determinants of health are somewhat limited and long-term services and supports are a lot broader. So I think combining the two together would make a lot of sense.
Excellent, excellent. And so that final title amendment would be
long-term services and supports and health equity, or the other way around. Either way is fine with me. If you wanna focus on health equity and then include long-term services and supports, that's fine. To me, as long as we get both in there, to me that's a win.
okay. Good.
So
So I would like to make a suggestion that, in fact, we start, as you suggested, Charlie, and say long-term services and supports and health equity. Okay. Any other thoughts? Is there anything more graceful than that? Does anyone have a suggestion on that?
I mean, I can shorten it and create an acronym, LTSS and health equity, when we reference it.
Okay.
So that's kind of shorter.
And as we develop the subcommittee, and we will leave it up to the subcommittee if they want to refine that title, but we want both of those aspects in the title of the subcommittee. So if there's
Shouldn't it be home and community-based?
Excuse me?
Shouldn't it be home and community-based services as opposed to long-term services and supports?
Because
home and community-based services implies that you live in your community, where long-term services and supports, couldn't that mean you live in an institution?
No, that's not been my experience. Long-term services and supports are in the community. They're not in institutional settings.
and we would want to leave it open, Commissioner, for the fluid continuum people might have around their health needs. So let me ask, I am going to ask for a vote on having, we will hold the title itself, but to have health as our second pillar. And then if you could just call the roll on that.
Yes.
And then we will constitute the subcommittee in the new year and look to the chair of that subcommittee around titles that include both long-term services and support and health.
Yes, Chair. With only a few minutes left, Anne, I see your hand raised. Would you like to, is there something you wanted to comment on?
I'll make it quick. I just want to flag that I'm wondering if there's overlap between long-term services and support and workforce in our workforce support subcommittee. And I know the focus is probably coming at different ends, like how to support the folks who provide direct services versus how to make sure that direct services are available, and I know that there are probably different facets that I'm unaware of or ignorant about, but I don't think this needs to hold up any vote on whether health equity might be our second pillar. I'm just flagging as we think about the whole subcommittee structure and how it complements employment and workforce supports. There seems to be some overlap there that it might behoove us to think about.
And this is Charlie. You know, I think that's a great point, and I think the subcommittee chairs really need to put our heads together to make sure those overlaps don't prohibit progress. So I think you're right. There's always overlaps in everything, but we don't want to get in each tripping over each other. So I think the subcommittee chairs need to kind of address that issue.
Yeah, maybe the subcommittee chairs and I can meet and discuss in the new year. So, all right, I'm going to.
I think we'll do that, of course, with the executive board, right? We need to be able to establish the second pillar. And although I was very hopeful that we would choose on health, I would never supersede the commission if the direction was then going to be housing or transportation. I do know that those issues are of vital importance, and they become part of health as well, as Angela can well lead us in that discussion. But and I think your input is very helpful. And as we vote on the second pillar, please know that the executive board and the subcommittee chairs will meet and design how we could most effectively do that work and present it to the commission.
But before we vote, I want to make sure I understand what we're voting on. Are you voting on the second pillar or on the subcommittee?
We're voting on the second pillar.
I see, okay.
Okay, and once we decide the second pillar, then we will develop a subcommittee around that, because that is how our commission does the work. We're talking about having long-term services and support and health equity as part of the title. I think that the subcommittee can refine that a little bit, as long as they keep all those words. And we'll look to the executive board and the present subcommittee chairs to talk about how to fashion that work going forward. But right now, Commissioner, it's just that health is our second pillar.
All right, do you want to call in a motion, or?
May I have a motion on that?
So moved.
A second.
All right,
Okay.
so this is a vote to make health, long-term services and support and health equity the next pillar for the commission. Jassy Burks Abbott.
Aye.
Charlie Carr.
Yes.
Representative Jar Cassidy. Chair Denise Garlick.
Yes.
Nancy Garkozy. Craig Hall.
Yes.
Representative Kay Khan.
Yes.
Andrew Lavralt.
Yes.
Ann Lynch.
Yes.
Regina Marshall. Felix Martinez. Osman Dahar.
Yes.
Representative Matthew Muratori. Bridget Murphy.
Yes.
Senator Patrick O'Connor. Angela Ortiz.
Yes.
Kathy Pitkowskis.
Yes.
Carl Richardson.
Yes.
Lexi Semenchik.
Yes.
Rachel Stanton.
Yes.
Megan Todd.
Yes.
And Chris White.
Yes.
All right.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for that discussion, especially. And I want to tell you, when Carl Richardson said, there's so many important issues to deal with, but if you're fighting for your health every day, it's hard to fight for those other issues as well. That was very moving to me, Carl. I'm going to carry that in my heart. The next commission meeting is on March 12th. I anticipate prior to that time, the executive board will meet, the subcommittee chairs will meet. We will be reaching out to get subcommittee members, and we should come into that March 12th meeting up and running. I have been very careful about timing. I apologize to you that we are a little bit over time. If there are any announcements the commissioners would like to have made, please email event right away, and we will get that out in a separate email today. What the commissioners have to share about work going on in the Commonwealth is important, and it is the function of the commission that we're sharing that information with each other. I want to take a moment here and just wish everyone healthy and happy holidays. And it is my dearest wish, after what has been such an arduous year for so many of us and an unsettled time ahead of us, that you have a time to rest and rejuvenate and approach the new year with hope and optimism. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Enjoy the holidays, folks.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.
New Year.
Yeah, holiday.
Bye.